Today marks 1237 days sharing lessons I learn and continue to learn with all of you. I hope that these insights will inspire you, support your dreams, and help you achieve your goals and will empower you to become the person that you want to become. Today I have a question. Have you ever been in a situation that you need to juggle so many different things? One thing, another, third, fourth, like there's so many things in your day that you need to do. Now, I truly believe that productivity requires to focus on one thing at a time. I understand. That's the focus. But sometimes we just do not have other option. Maybe any transition. Maybe there's external things that come into your day. There's a lot of things could come not because you wanted it, but because external things wanted it. And so, what do you do when there's so much in your schedule, so much in your day, in your week? How to master that? How to really prioritize things? How to manage the time? How to manage your energy? Because energy is very important to master. Because if you don't know where to allocate your energy, it's very hard. But today we'll focus. But option. there's no option to really focus one thing at a time, and you need to focus on multiple things. What you able to do? Only five things, only foundational things. Number one, and probably you understand it, prioritize ruthlessly. That means that we need to understand what is critical, really, because a lot of times we focus on things that is maybe half important, maybe it's easy, because we just worried on focusing on critical things because it requires some emotional input. Because sometimes it's some requires cognitive power, some emotional power, and there's a lot of things that requires different things. So we need to really prioritize it and potentially list four things in four buckets: critical, that it must be done; it could be important, that could be can't wait, could be unnecessary. So that means I started looking to, okay, how I could really bucket into things and then prioritize those. So prioritize ruthlessly is the number one thing. Again, you can start asking questions. What is the biggest consequence of if you are late? So what happens if you're late on this one? What happens if you're late this one? What happens if you're late with this one? I think both a little bit. What happens if you do it? What happens if you don't? Because you need to juggle. That means you're not able sometimes to even to finish what you started because you have just moving forward every single little by little until you fully transition out of something that really takes a lot of your time. Because the most important part is not to stay there all the time, but until you are there, prioritize ruthlessly is very, very, very important. And that's one of my favorite questions is what is moving the needle forward the most? So that means what are the key aspects that you could really transition you out of that as quick as possible. Number two is time management becomes survival. So when I think about prioritizing ruthlessly, is before time management. So that means when you look into priorities, okay, this one will be the most important, this one will be important. Now time management is okay, now I know what's most important. Let's book that time in. And of course, what are the most important things in time management is time blocking, being able to understand exactly what you'll do when. Because if you everyday plan, it could take a lot of time. But if you're able to execute your planning in the evening, or maybe on Sunday evening for the whole week or morning, just have the time to plan and time block, and then batch similar tasks together. Because I think that's the hardest part is if you do some kind of emotional work that requires creativity, and then you need to some logical work, and you got bouncing back between creativity and logical, you will slow down because you need some time to reflect and really rewire your thinking. But if you're okay, like those tasks requires creativity. Those tasks require cognitive power and logic. So being able to really allocate batch are very, very important. It's helpful. And the thing that is very, very important to understand when we struggle with time is that there's Parkinson's law. A lot of time we do activity as long as we allocate that time to. So we can actually question it. We say, okay, look, I'm most likely will finish 1 hour and a half. So is there a possibility to make that 45 minutes? Because sometimes when you start to really question and challenge our ways of doing, starts like, oh, if I change this one, if I adjust my way of doing, maybe I'm able to cut my work hours into 45 minutes. And using other tools, using everything. Because I used to be financial auditor. I have been seeing a lot of accountants doing crazy things. I know that I could do with tools within 5-10 minutes. They doing for an hour manually. So it's very, very important to ask like what kind of things could really automate. And there's something that's like, so like if there's something that is 2 minutes, could I do it immediately that I could really cross out of my calendar that is not in my mind anymore? Just having a smaller list of this is helpful. Number three, and this is very, very important, is learn how to work under pressure. This is probably the key aspects to be successful. Because majority of people who are CEOs, they are CEOs not because they are smarter, even though they are very, very smart, but majority of the time they are in their position because they are able to work and manage themselves under pressure. Because what happens to people who are very, very, very intelligent and smart, but under pressure, their cognitive power decreases to barely minimum. And of course, because of that, a lot of people suffer. And people who are not maybe as smart, but they are able to keep calm and keep their level of expertise and smartness at the same level, they will outperform a very smart person who is not able to handle the stress. And a lot of times we're able to do something about it. So sometimes we are stressed because we're looking at a massive problem. So what we're able to do, we're able to chant that down. And a small thing that, of course, that small thing doesn't create stress. So being able to really chunk into small, manageable tasks reduces stress significantly. It could be focused sprints. It could be like that we work 25, 45 minutes, very, very, very actively on something, because being able to get in the flow again, this is one of the productivity things, and I think that it gets out of your stressor trying to run through multiple things. So that means that when you have a lot of things, rather than doing 15 minutes one thing, 15 minutes other thing, looking into how you're able to really allocate 25 minutes unattended to one thing and one thing only. So being 100% focused on one thing only for that 25 minutes. Even though that you know that you will need to do something else after, but for that 25 minutes, there's nothing else, just this one thing. And of course, at the same time, we're able to really control what we have. I think that's when we are stressed, when everything in life is sideways. Everything is housed. But when we are actually able to control some aspects, foundation aspects, exercise maybe, sleep, run, like what are the foundational key aspects? Maybe there's a keystone habit, that's how we call it, keystone habit, that you anchor habit. When you anchor your one habit, that you're able to say like, my life is in all directions, but this one thing that I'm doing every single day is in place. So that means I'm okay. So and I think that removes a lot of stress because you have control of the key aspects of your life. And the most important part as well, like we need to let go of perfection, especially when you have a house and you're doing so many different things. We need to be okay with sometimes even mediocrity for a short period of time. We are excellent in managing ourselves, but so the results in that 1 week or the 2 weeks might be mediocre and need to be okay because that's the maximum that we're able to do. There's nothing that we're not able to create, because if we are not able to be mediocre for a couple of weeks in results, that means that we give up our sleep, we give up our exercise, we give up the things that we potentially will be decrease on our energy long term. So short term, it's better to give up short term than long term. Number four, mental physical resilience. That's again non-negotiable. This is needs to be as one separate thing. Non-negotiable things needs to be non-negotiable. So even though there's so many things coming into your way, that is external things, internal things, there's all the things coming in, we need to still ask, well, what is non-negotiable? So that no matter what is happening, those needs to be taken care of. I think that this is such an important thing. I think it's very easy to forget our values when we are in a house because, oh, this is very critical, this is very, very important. But if you think about life, when you really live longer, you start to realize that what is really important. And when you start to understand what's truly, truly important, even though that maybe you will lose something that you will not be able to finish, I think that the most important part is we're not supposed to lose ourselves and not supposed to lose our values. Because when you lose that, you lose everything. When you lose something else, it's not as important. So priorities, that's why priority is so important because when you say okay, I lost fifth priority and my first two, second and third is in place and in check. So it means you're successful. You didn't lose. You were taking care of the most important priorities, even though that you didn't achieve everything that you wanted. So of course we need to recover. We need to sleep. We need to exercise. We need to fuel our body. We need to fuel our mindset. We need to fuel our motivation. We need to fuel our internal peace. Those are being able to be present. Those are really key aspects of success. And I think that the last one is very, very important. I think that I was struggling, and I'm still struggling, is asking for help. Being able to delegate things. Everything what we need to do is not need to be done by you. It's not need to be done by us. Some things could be done by someone else. So being able to really find people who could help in that vulnerable moment when you are in a house, and it's okay that I'm not able to really handle that right now. Could you help me out for a short period of time until I move for this transition? This I think is very, very, very important. And again, this is very important to do a lot of things in here. Ask for help is communicate. Asking for help is just saying that I will not be able to really uh, communicate this month. I will not be able to really do my commitments this week, this month. Being able to communicate, but that you are in a rush is very, very important. Because I think that trust is lost when you do not communicate. When you communicate that what is going on in your life, people understand. But if you do not communicate and you do not perform, the later on when you say that yeah, I was not able to do because this and this and this becomes an excuse rather than really vulnerability. So being able to explain everything before that's very, very, very important. And of course, there's a lot of things that delegate using technologies. All those things could really help us. So it's always, always, always important to ask for help. So I hope you reflect as well. What do you do when you are in a house? What kind of routines or process systems in place do you have in place that really helps you to really overcome those days? Because the more process systems you have, the better you move forward. Because as we say, like goals are important, but what's most important in life is frameworks, systems, and processes. Because during tough days, during house, if you do not have the process, most likely everything will be left behind. When you have a process and systems and routines, it's very easy to really jump on, finish it, and move forward. People who in life, people who have process and systems will always outperform people who have big, big goals. Now, of course, if you have big goals and have big and great process, there's, of course, no one will stop you. So I hope you choose to win and see you tomorrow.